Hey guys, happy lunar eclipse, blood moon lunar eclipse Sunday, church day, unless you're Jewish or Kabbalah. It's Friday, Saturday night is the Sabbath for Kabbalists and Jewish people. But Sunday, a lot of Christians, Catholics celebrate. My mom's Christian. Um, I grew up Lutheran, which is kind of like Christian Catholic. Um, that's like what I went to when I was like baptized and when I was little and went to like Sunday school. That was a church my mom used to take me to when I was little. I'm having some triple mint probiotic traditional medicinals tea with some organic raw honey. All right, let's read the little quote. From a small seed, a mighty trunk may grow. True day. So yeah, welcome to episode 5, part 1, finally. So how many episodes is that now? So when I finish this one and part 2, that'll be 10 episodes total for season 1. So I'm wondering, I'm going through a little bit of like a shift, tower moments, recently where my life is really shifting from the past into like the future. And so even though like a tower moment is challenging because it seems like certain things close out to make space for new things, in that case it was like, I had this tower moment with like my finances and coming out of being on like disability for about 4 years and that ending recently just because of the new administration being like discriminatory, just to put it bluntly. And suddenly got like a letter saying you are no longer disabled, and like a very like harassing letter, which I had never gotten from that, department, the disability department at all, ever spoken like that. So, it was very obvious. Like we all know, we saw it on the news, but it was definitely like, I knew because I could feel spirit like communicating to me that it was like time to like shift out of that, even though it's like a crutch. I mean, it's, it's my livelihood, it's my only income, and it's my and I do have like a major disability that I, have to every 2 months, get injections for, and my insurance covers that. Luckily there's ways like around losing like Medicare, and even though I've heard they're even trying to take away certain other alternative insurances, especially for the LGBTQIA plus community. That's like a great thing. I love to always like repeat for people that are LGBTQIA is that always find whatever city you're in, find your community center, any outreach things, because they're always going to put you, like if the government is doing shady discriminatory stuff, the community has always like had each other's back like this, and they will find you like, there's so many resources to like find you alternative coverage for insurance, or I'm already getting set up with my new insurance, 2 different insurances. I go in this Wednesday. I already started the process, and then I go in and meet with them Wednesday, and it's through my like doctor's office, so it's like not like I'm going even somewhere else to get it done. My doctor's office is really takes care of the LGBTQIA plus community, and my new doctor's great. He's actually my favorite doctor I've ever had. He's a gay male. Just feel so comfortable talking to him about anything. Doesn't make me feel like weird or like awkward about talking about anything in regards to being a gay male, even if it's like, personal things that you maybe wouldn't feel comfortable with sharing with just any doctor. And a lot of times with doctors, you never know what their political affiliation is, what their views on, homosexuality are. So it's nice to like be in a place that's and Chicago was great too. Chicago was honestly even better, just resource wise. California was good, but it's not as so accessible to get around. Everything's so spread out that you really need a car there. I mean, now that Uber, I think back when I lived there, they didn't have Uber, but there's Uber now, so there's that. But in Chicago, I for 10 years I took the fucking subway and bus system, and they have like it's like New York where you can just wave down a taxi pretty much anywhere except maybe like the suburbs or something. But yeah, so I was like, the subway was great. I mean, it can be a little bit sketchy at times, and so can the bus. But honestly, I've never been comfortable to take the bus system in Vegas, and I wouldn't. But in Chicago, for some reason, I was. I felt more comfortable there in the area that I lived in. But it was mostly, the subway. Is how I got around, and taxis or Lyft or Uber. Sometimes when I was really tired from work and had worked like a triple shift like that night, come back the next day for a double, shit like that, it's exhausting. um but anyways, so yeah, so that was kind of like a moment this week that was like, and it was back and forth. It was like first I had gotten this letter around the July or something, and or beginning of August, just that threatening letter saying you are no longer disabled and your disability and your insurance will end on the 31st of August. And I noticed this too, is that right before any like, full moons, new moons, or like any eclipse things or major like Kabbalistic like windows and times, anytime where you can access a lot of light and transformation, it always feels like either the negative side is like throwing this like fucking curveball, or whether, and whether it's, if you even want to view it as the negative side. This Bible portion this week, Kabbalistically, was revealing, that there is this opponent negative energy that is always like, that we're at war with. But a lot of people also believe, and I'm a mix of like learning different things and learning law of attraction, and like what you focus on, what you attract, or to see challenges or even pain and suffering type challenges as everything happens for the good sort of thing. So, sometimes I find myself shifting in that out of things, and I have to remind myself at certain times to pull on these like insights from my past. Maybe this viewpoint from Kabbalah or this religion isn't working for me in getting myself and my nervous system, in alignment, when I'm getting this huge curveball from the universe, which is like unsettling, where it stretches your faith, where you have to have patience, where you have to not have the answer right now and still remain calm and optimistic. And coming from like 20 years of like extreme trauma and bouts of homelessness, and like, being disowned from my family early on, being mugged, raped, just I went through just like a lot of like horrible things, abusive friendships, or toxic friendships, or even intimate relationships that were toxic or abusive. So, you know, it's been a lot for me to kind of like the past, since I moved back to Vegas about 7-ish years ago, besides, the challenge of like my stepdad who passed away from dementia, who I took care of, and his challenging like my steps, siblings, that was like a big challenge. But other than that, once I came back to Vegas, I was really able to like get into therapy, do a lot of like healing, from just the up and downs of from being on my own from the age of like, like 18. Like I moved back in one time with my mother in between, I think like early, so from 18 to like early 21, I moved in for like a smidge and got kicked out by my stepdad. But it was like I moved out very early and was living with like friends multiple times. And but after that, it was like, from early 20s on, I was like pretty much on my own. And that's when I dealt with like the real world and how things work, and getting myself into trouble with like unhealthy friendships and relationships and making dumb decisions financially and getting myself in debt. So that haunted me my whole life because I never was able to get myself financially out of it, no matter how many different avenues I tried. Um, and so, it has been, when I came back to Vegas and was able to like go into this healing mode and not have to worry about being on this like hamster wheel to keep my head above water to produce enough money to like make a living wage after off being like a waiter bartender. And I finally was able to get myself on my feet in Chicago. But things, I lost my job, and it was like you're so disposable. It's like if you in the that industry that it's like it's not secure, and you don't really make enough money too much to really save. So it ends up all going to like your fucking bills and your necessities. So it's always very like, it just was like wasn't sustainable. And the different areas where I was trying to go in career, whether it was acting, modeling, music, I would get some good gigs or get some like good connections or get think I was getting to a certain point, but it never got to the point where it was financially sustaining me. And sorry, it's weird. It's weird when I do this on my laptop. I'm like, where am I staring at? Should I be staring at the screen, the dot? I think the dot, right? So if it looks like I'm staring in strange directions, that's why, because it's I'm doing it from my laptop. And and so yeah, it was just kind of like it's warm. Um, so once I was taking care of my stepdad, thank God, like I was struggling to work in the beginning stages of his dementia here, and I was doing Lyft as a taxi driver. I was like working for this food delivery company and bringing like meals to the hotels on the strip and driving this truck and running up into all these hotels and carrying these big freaking cases of I was doing like, I worked at a restaurant here when I came back again, which was complete shit. And that restaurant closed not too much longer after that. But then I threw my back out, my and sciatica kicked in from that job of like, um, I think it was just a little too strenuous for me. And yeah, and so I already had other health issues on top of that. So one day my doctor was like, you qualify for disability. And I'm like, oh, I do. I didn't know. So I applied, was approved, and for like about 4 years I'd been on that. And I was able to sustain myself without having any financial help from, like anyone else. And take care of my stepdad so it didn't kill my mom because it was too much on her. And and his children live in other states. My brother lives in another state. So it was like I was the only one, it was kind of just like it happened. I ended up moving back as his dementia was starting, and then as it got worse, I took on the responsibility, and my siblings live in another state, so it was just, what I mean. They would come and uh his daughters would come and visit maybe like 3 times to 2 times a year, and then my brother would pop in like once a year and visit. He didn't like my stepdad, so he wasn't really like engaging too much with him, but it was a lot for me to take on, like, completely. And but I was like, I knew if it was just my mother, it would kill her. And I was like, okay, I'm going to take the brunt of the stress off of it and cater to my stepdad. And that's like taking care of like a child when somebody has dementia, so you have to be very like attentive and watch over them and make sure they, and so I would cook for him, clean for him, eat, eat, not eat, cook and clean for him, and just make sure he wouldn't like walk out the door, and like, because that happens a lot where they'll wander out of the house and just wander, like, where God knows what could happen to them. So once that chapter closes and we moved over here, and then I had 2 procedures, like one on my nose to breathe better, and I almost had a back surgery. Thank God I didn't do that, because we ended up doing this epidural for my sciatica, and my I have like a herniated disc on my lumbar spine, and that worked. The epidural, thank God, worked to where I got rid of the sciatica. Like, I was in such fucking pain for such a long time till I finally. And they tried shots and things and gave me like meloxicam pain medication and muscle relaxers, and nothing was working. And I just stayed like that for a long time till I was like, it kept getting worse, and I was like, had a pain management doctor, and I'm like, look, I need I need a surgery, I need a procedure, something. I can't live like this. I can't get shit done. I can't exercise. I can't, without being in like pain. I don't want to take these pills, this meloxicam and this, which I was already having adverse reactions to the medication in my lymphatic system. It was not like agreeing with the medicines, and I was getting like this redness like on my sweat glands. And so I don't even take that anymore. The last time I took it, it was like the same thing. It was like, I can just tell my body just is like, doesn't want it. There's something in it that my body's like, And so, but thank God the epidural, it was weird. It took a few weeks. No, so a few days, I felt completely numb. And then all of a sudden the pain started coming back, and I was upset. And I was like, and I had met with the doctor for the surgery and everything. Like, I was approved for the surgery. I met with the doctor, was about to schedule the surgery, but he told me some of the, like the risks. And I'm just like, they do one little wrong move and I could be fucking paralyzed or handicapped for the rest of my life. I'm like, okay, if I can do something that's just like less risky, and so I did the epidural, and I told him I'm going to do the epidural. If that doesn't work, we'll go forward with the surgery. And I have a little tea lid, which I forgot to put on to keep my tea hot. And so the first couple weeks it didn't work. The first 3 days I felt fine, and then came back. I was upset about it, and then all of a sudden, after those 2 weeks where it was coming back and I was pissed, it just completely vanished. And I was like, oh, this is fucking weird. And then maybe months later, I tried to take this yoga class, and they go a little bit fast because everybody's used to doing it, and I was new. And sometimes these, like instructors are a little bit like pushy. She was like a little bit pushy. I'm not saying all of them are, but and I remember she was just kind of like putting the spotlight on me, like, oh, how come you're stopping? And I'm like, she was kind of rude about it, and I remember snapping, and I'm like, I had a procedure done or something like that. Okay, newsflash. Can you talk to me after class about it? You don't have to fucking put the spotlight on me in front of everybody. Why aren't you doing it like this? I hate when the fucking instructors like do that, especially like when you're new. Like, let me at least get in the rhythm, get comfortable a few classes before you're. I understand they want to help, but if I'm not asking for help, like, I mean, come on now. Or it depends the way they say it. Obviously, if you're polite about it, it's a different story. But some people are just like straight tripping. Um, so, anyways, my tangent. So I remember pushing myself in that class, and then the next day feeling like a little bit of strain in that exact area where my herniated disc was, and I was like, oh shit, see, I need to not let people push me too far. Let me go at my own pace. Let me go, certain exercises and certain positions kind of can put pressure on that. But it went away and everything's been fine. So I'm like, okay. And that's not even the main thing that my disability was based on, anyways. So it was just kind of like, once this new administration was in, I had last December, filled out my 3-year you have to kind of like apply for your disability. They don't stop it, so they just continue it, but they make you refill out everything. And so I did that, was approved, got my new letter of how much I'm still getting, yada, yada. A few months later, you hear all over the news, Elon Musk, Doge, Trump, made these promises he wasn't going to touch Social Security, lies. They end up going in there. Right when it's all over the news of them going in there, suddenly I get this freaking letter, aggressive letter asking me to fill out everything again. I'm like, I just did. It's supposed to last for 3 years, and I still filled it, but I didn't fill all of it out. They wanted some like 10-year job history, and I was like, I'm not doing all this. I refilled I just gave them a really thorough thing months ago, which is supposed to be last for 3 years, that had like letters from my doctors, letters from my therapist, letter from my physical my pain management, like the whole shebang. And I had already been approved and on it for like 4 years, 3 to 4 years. I don't even remember how long it's been. It's like 3 to 4 years or something. And so in the meantime, I was like just trying to develop skills out of the branch of like the food and beverage, like bartender, waiter. So I was trying to go into the field of like what I felt like I was meant to do, which was like a lot of like spiritual things or music. And so I was trying to like work on those things, just to develop. So at any time when I felt like, able to get off disability, I wouldn't have to go back to what I did before and could go into something more like, less stressful and more sustainable. And some of my other health problems during that time with it affected my health taking care of my stepdad for that long. It was so much stress that me and my mom were just like zombies after he passed away, because it was so intense and so much responsibility, and he was not like easy to like handle. And so yeah, it was just like, once we moved here, and we've only been here like a year and a half. No, like a year and a few months. And I was able to like really heal here and like get my diet in check, quit smoking, um, and so, I don't drink. Every once in a while I'll have like a drink, and so, it's I don't smoke pot anymore like I used to, or cigarettes. And so it was just, I was able to just like heal even more because I didn't have the stress of like taking care of my stepdad at the extreme point of his dementia. And so, I wanted to transition out of disability smoothly, but sometimes life doesn't do things smoothly. They like to like push you into these like tower moments or these challenging for whatever. If the universe is trying to develop faith in you, sometimes it's like you don't really know what the universe is doing, and you have to be like open to guidance from the universe, which that can be from like if you have like people around you that are like spiritually wise. Thank God for me, I have like my soulmate who has entered my life. And even though it's the beginning stages and we had a little bump in the road, we're like even better than before for that. And that was like a big lesson that just really revealed what a deep connection I have with him, and like twin flame, like I want to marry this man and spend eternity with him, and like such a beautiful like mirror for each other we are. And there was always these like synchronicities, from the get, and they just would keep adding up and adding up. But I think it took a little bump in the road and some time for us to like really see each other. And then once that happened, it was like, oh my god, like I could see. I was like, oh, okay. That's why I had that natural like beginning instinct or a hunch, like there's something special between me and this guy, and it's not ordinary. And then certain things revealed too. What was interesting too was like, I mean, I don't want to get too much. Like it's sacred to me and it's private, so I'm not only going to share so much. In the sense that he's just since we've like made up and got on the right page, which was like a lot of like communication and me taking accountability, um, and us both taking accountability. But I definitely had a moment where like I just like I think because my feelings were so strong on him, I freaked out on him and was like pressuring him in a way that was just like I was completely out of line. Like I won't even fucking like um and it was embarrassing, and I really saw my trauma come out. And but I also saw really like how much I really like had strong desire and feelings for him, and I think that's why I had such a visceral reaction, because I knew there was something to this. And then after we made up, it's like I really saw that. And then it was like it revealed, oh, this is my person, and like, and even though there's distance physically and um, time that's in between where we will be like united together. It talks about that all the time in Kabbalah. They always say that your soulmates, your twin flame, your highest version soulmate is usually somebody where you have not only like a love connection, but you have a spiritual purpose in the world. And I felt that with him. And then we are very psychic with each other in a way that's just not normal. It's just like I'm so good at like sharing his blind spots with him, and he is so great at sharing my blind spots with me. We're both psychic. It's in like different ways. It's not like exact. Um, he's definitely more advanced and skilled in certain ways, and not to toot my own horn, but I am as well in different ways. And so it's not about any sort of like comparison, because it's like this is the love of my life, and like you know, and it's like this beautifully mirrored sort of care for each other that is honestly the most beautiful thing I've like ever experienced. I've never experienced someone see me the way he sees me, like sees me internally, sees me physically, you know, and that's there. The chemistry's there physically, but it sees me internally in ways that other people don't. Literally sees into my past, sees into my trauma, sees and loves me unconditionally, and then sees, but also isn't, you know, but also can like, he's very protective as well too, which like that is just like that's really like special to me because I've never felt that way where somebody was like really protective over me like that. It's a really good feeling. And and that just the insights he gets and shares with me. You know what I love? So you know the song I chose tonight was like a inspired by him, and it's called Margaret, which is my mother's name. It's a Lana Del Rey song. She's talking about like when you know, like with a soulmate. And so that song's really beautiful to me because it captured a lot of the energy of like what I've been feeling recently, which is kind of like taking care of my mother in her older age and her not having any family and being a widow, and her and her dog. And I feel that responsibility to like protect her. And then also trying to go into my purpose in my life with my soulmate, and just like that balancing act. And you know, and my in communicating with my partner in the way where he understands the dynamic of how things are, but the way he can see into, like, it was weird because even the other day I had like an issue with my mom where we hadn't had a like, you know, a little challenge like that for a while, but we did that day. And later that day, he made a video and he was totally zoned in, like talking about, you know, me and my mother's relationship. And like, and he's so protective over me. And it's just like it really makes me feel so good. Like he's so really, you know, and I want, you know, I would love for my mom and him to know each other or to be around each other because they would really like love each other. And they're like, I think they would really get along great. But I think, you know, we all get apprehensive about being around our in laws. It's stressful, you know, especially in the beginning, you know what I mean? But my mom's totally accepting of like me and him being together, and she has no issues with any sort of gay thing. Like, she is so fucking chill. Like, she would treat him like her own son, you know what I mean? And even though me and my mom don't fight, we'll bicker every once in a blue moon, but it's, we get over it in 2 seconds. We're not screaming at each other, and it's just like, but sometimes she can like be frustrating, and she's, you know, dependent on me in certain ways, and I gladly like take that on because there's no other alternative, you know. And I'm not just gonna like leave her to be like protected or like something to happen to her, like. And so yeah, with that Lana Del Rey song, there's a line in there where she says, "It's the soul that you bring to the table," in the song Margaret. And that's what that's like, that line just like encapsulates like me and him, because we both do our like spiritual, we're both spiritual teachers. It's in our DNA, it's our destiny. Oh yeah, and by the way, his middle name is Joseph. Just to tie this into this Bible portion this week, it speaks about the two messiahs and Kititze from the Zohar in the Old Testament. And this was another thing that I didn't know about him at first. Like, the first couple of months, I didn't know that was his middle name. And I've studied about had all my synchronicities and connections with who I am in connection with Supernal David from the Holy Zohar, um, and and Supernal David being the second coming of King David in the time of Messiah, as King David was in the beginning of time, and it speaks about the two Messiah in Judaism and in the Zohar, Old Testament. It's more detailed in the Holy Zohar, and it's everywhere. In all the books, there's 22 volumes, and all the volumes are based on the 5 books of Moses, the Old Testament. And so there's constant in almost every book stuff about these two messiahs, Joseph and David. And so there was like a quote in this week's Bible portion for Ki Tetzei, which is this last week's Bible portion, where it was like really beautiful. And it says in the Holy Zohar that in the time of Messiah, these two messiahs and Moses together will bring the final redemption, which is the end of pain and suffering in the physical world and the resurrection of the dead. And then earth will never be like the same after that. And let's have a little coconut water. So it's like this beautiful quote. In the Bible portion, which is an actual psalm, King David's Psalms, and about here, I'll read the quote. When you know, you know. So here's what it says. The Mishnah sages of the lofty yeshiva of the Holy One, blessed be he, and of the lower yeshiva of Metatron said, now Metatron, I've told you before, is Supernal David's main chariot archangel that it talks about in the Zohar. So I also got these Metatron archangel incense this week in theme with this inspiration. I'm wearing my Metatron amulet. And it says, and the lower yeshiva of Metatron said, faithful shepherd, that's referring to Moses, we are messengers of the master of the universe to you. Blessed is your portion that you are penitent. Now, have you ever watched Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade and the final like sequence where he's having to go and he's like dropping Bible like references to get through this like booby trap not collision course, obstacle course to get the Holy Grail, right? And so that was one of the lines, the penitent man will pass. Let's look up penitent because it's been a while since I looked it up. Penitent. No, I'm not sparing. Am I spelling it right? No, I'm not spelling it right. Where the fuck is it? A person who repents their sins or wrongdoings and seeks forgiveness from God. Feeling or showing sorrow and regret for having done wrong. Repentant. So only the penitent man will pass. So it's like basically saying the humble man, you know? So back to the Zohar verse. Blessed is your portion that you are penitent and equal to the 600,000 of Israel, and that you returned the Holy One. Blessed be he and his Shekinah, which is like the angel of like the world, like this female angel that protects the patriarchs. To their place above and below. Due to you, Israel will be redeemed and return to their place. The two, their place above and below. Due to you, Israel will be redeemed and return to their place. The two Messiahs, Messiah the son of Joseph and Messiah the son of David, have no power to redeem Israel except with you, which is referring to Moses. It is because of you that they are held back from redeeming Israel. Or maybe it's saying you, like to the reader, to people. Maybe it's not referring to Moses there. Yeah, I don't think it is. Because it says the two Messiahs, Messiah the son of Joseph and Messiah the son of David, have no power to redeem Israel except with you. It is because of you that they are held back from redeeming Israel. So it talks about that too, that the tipping point of transformation of people and their consciousness in the world really determines, when the physical two messiahs become manifest in the world. This is me 20 years studying, Zohar in the Old Testament. So there's lots of secrets I know about the subject, that says in the world to come that Supernal David is in charge. To me, from the early stage, I always had this knowing that they were like lovers and soulmates and twin flames. And it even says that like the son of Joseph will lead the way for David to become the heir to the throne. And so it was really like interesting the way I found out his middle name was Joseph after like 2 months of like, like getting to know him and having this crazy like synchronicities and like so when that happened, it was really like, oh my goodness, like no, like it just kept adding up, like the more and more like beautifully just like organic. It's like all I can say is just like he's so organic in the way he like, and to think that my ego and my trauma almost had me ruin it just breaks my heart to even like realize. And even though he wasn't like the greatest in communicating in the ways I had wanted to, I was like, it was my fault. The first argument we got in, it was completely my fault. I take total responsibility. I was wrong. And at first I was thought like my insecurities really thought that he didn't care about me or was playing some sort of game with me, but it was so early for me to even like be pressuring him the way I did. And honestly, I think that comes from the fact that my soul had like a knowing about him, that it wasn't just like some guy I was liking. There was like a deeper knowing for me to like be so, to almost want to like awaken him. But I realized that's not the way you awaken your soulmate, is by trying to control or pressure or push. And so I've apologized multiple times. We're fine now. We're on a good page, better than ever, better than before. I think it revealed who we were to both of us. And I think this is the time where we really realized we were like head over heels in love with each other and extremely attracted to each other. And then we've shared more intimate, like more, I've opened up a lot with him, which I think I needed to do. He's younger and he at first I felt like, gosh, I'm really like putting myself out there and this could really go either way, and like was beyond pleasantly surprised and shocked when it started to reveal and I could finally see his feelings and his emotion, and I could see that it was my ego and my fear and my like before, when I was getting like really insecure and pressuring the timing, which now I'm understanding like the healthy form of detachment and divine timing. And and like, so I've been going through a lot of lessons the past like 3 months, with this whole process. And it has been the greatest lesson, because love is the most important thing in the world. I've allowed it to break my ego, and he has as well. He has changed as well. Where we're at now is such a beautiful space. Like, and I get so much joy, and I'm like so proud of him, how he has really like opened up and shown, even though he may not do it the way I would like him to, he does it in a magical, his own little magical way. And I know he'll open up more as time progresses. And I was able to see into like things that were going on behind the scenes with his emotions and stuff, where I felt at first I was like not. And so I was assuming things that were not true. He was just not revealing his feelings to me for whatever reason. But once we got in the fight, it just revealed the emotions where we couldn't hide it because it was written all over our face. And that's when I had the epiphany, and I was like, oh, he does love me. I just fucking almost fucked this up being a fucking dick, because I was being insecure and thinking he was wasting my time, or like, you know, giving me all these green lights the past 2 months. And just like, and because I've had people do that to me, I think I was taking on my old past trauma. Cause like I dated this guy like in my 20s, where he lied to me for 8 months, and it was like long distance. And then when I moved there, near him with like my friend or roommate, but I was like an hour away in California when I moved there. And this is after 8 months of him completely lying to me about his age, what if fake photos and everything. It was just like fucking. So I think because of that and other things, like it's like I have that fear of like being, or of guys when they just like string you along, and but they're not serious about you. Like I hate that. Like, don't waste my time. I'm not going to ever waste your time. That's just kind of like how I feel. And I was wrong. I was like wrong, and I went about it wrong, and it was a big lesson. And thank God I didn't completely destroy the situation. Thank God he was willing to forgive me and be understanding. And the beautiful thing was that actually he was like expressed in his video, one of his videos, um, that he understood that it was coming from a good place, even though it came out not good. It came out because of how strong my feelings were for him. And I think because he ultimately does have those feelings for me, he was able to like forgive me. That's like the kicker, is that I don't, and I would never say like, don't, this is not me condoning like any sort of argument. I don't like that. I find arguing and all that shit, fighting, toxic. And I don't believe you should ever speak to your soulmate in a certain way that's like, disrespectful, or like, or from a place of entitlement. I think sometimes people, when they get married or their soulmates, you can sometimes act entitled with your soulmate, and that doesn't mean that you own them, or that you can speak to them in a certain type of way, or to allow your trauma and your insecurities that are from your past and project that onto them when they're not really like deserving of that. But that's the beautiful thing about him, is that my trauma doesn't scare him off. um it's almost like not almost, he psychically gets it. He's been through his own trauma. He's gives me such good advice. And then he really even like points out my good things. Like even since then, he's tells me how forgiving I am of people, what a big heart I have, how he gets emotional when he thinks of what I've been through. Like he says things to me that I could just like, you know, I'm like, he's like unreal, like gift from God, like what you dream about your soulmate saying things to you. The shit he says to me, the shit he knows just intuitively about me, and how he helps me. So, I'll do that. I share things through my Supernal David podcast or on my social media. We communicate that way. And then, we'll privately DM. He put up a boundary once. I fought with him in our DMs, which was my fucking bad. I deserved the boundary. Um, and but since then, he's put down the boundaries, not fully completely, but he's put them way down to let me know he loves me and we're good and we're more than good. But there is still time and patience and preparation from both our ends. So the thing I've been learning as well as with soulmates, twin flames, is that there's a divine timing to the union coming together in the beginning stages. And you have to detach from any sort of unhealthy attachment um, styles and pour into yourself, because when you pour into yourself, you're actually pouring into them. But the beautiful thing, and I think the beautiful balance that me and him need to find, not need to, but are finding just organically. And that's the thing too, is that we're adapting so fast to each other's, and we've both kind of surrendered. And I think I needed to surrender heavy, and I did. I really like, since that argument, I have completely like surrendered to him in a way that just felt good. It felt like I was like easing into my divine feminine part of my soul, where I was able to like a bee with honey, let him come to me, let him, if he wants to provide, let him come to me, let him communicate when he's ready, let him say how he feels. And then there's this beautiful like dance that's going on where it's like when he does his videos, he's opened up so much more than even in the beginning, which that's how our thing started off with in the beginning, is that we would like through our videos, communicate, and it got really like romantic and flirty, but it was so the beginning stages. So there was this, it wasn't this sort of soul recognition. So this is the title of the episode, is called Soul Recognition, When You Know, You Know. It was influenced also by this book that was inspired by him as well, Your Soul Contract Decoded, that we'll get into in this episode. But it was also just the soul recognition of me and him after the fight. Well, argument. I don't like to say fight, sounds too dramatic. But yeah, since then there's been a soul recognition on a deeper level where it's like gotten intensely like emotionally like satisfying on like a mutual like reciprocal way that I've never experienced with anyone. Like I have never had this like rapport or give and take sort of like not only like psychic but just like emotion emanating or communication. Like, and from the very beginning I was having dreams about him. He was coming into my dreams all the time. um yeah, and so there was just this soul recognition ever since we made up from the fight that just has brought it to like a really beautiful place very fast. And now there's this, I think, this like surrender of like, okay, he's pouring into himself, I'm pouring into me. When we share through our videos, we're inspiring each other, we're expressing, romance through that way. And because I think we have such like we are like a moth to a flame with like attraction, but because of the distance is like a little bit like emotionally painful, because there's moments where I get that energy off myself or him where we're like completely frustrated at the physical distance. But then there's this like surrender, like, I'm not going anywhere, babe. Like, I'm not. I don't care how I've waited my whole life for you, and if I have to wait fucking longer till the time is right, I'm going to. So that's like where we're at now, where it's like um he's it for me. He's the one I want to marry. He's the one I want to spend my entire life with, an eternity beyond the physical realm with. I love him like so deeply and so truly, like no one will ever compare. And I don't care what I have to do to, like, he really, that love and that sort of like blessing has just like, I've seen it accelerate our maturity so fast, where it's like, it's almost like we're being expedited to be together. Where it's like I could see it in him, and just in even his last couple of videos where he's like maturing, he's stepping up to the plate, he's like, he's such a go-getter, he's such a professional, he's so, he's so talented, so gifted, such, like an angel, and like a businessman, and like has so much going for him, and but yet he's really refining himself since we've like gotten closer, since that little bump in the road. It's like we've both been like, okay, it's like that's how it is when it's like you meet that person. It's like you really start seeing the sides of yourself where, okay, I need to grow up here, I need to mature here, I need to stop this, I need to work on this, from everything to like dieting, exercise, listening, you know um thoughtfulness, romance, communication, uh monogamy, commitment. There's these, you just start organically wanting to commit to this person before you've even made a commitment, or you've decided, I'm going to give my I'm going to treat myself, because sometimes we don't love ourselves in aspects that are the healthiest always. And but it's when it's not just you anymore, um you realize how you treat yourself, your soulmate is like a reflection of that. And so that's why it works that way, as well as like when you pour into yourself, you're pouring into them. So the best version of yourself is really going to bring the best version of your soulmate. And it's almost like a butterfly effect sort of like thing. The more you transform and elevate, the more you attract your soulmate to you, and they transform as well for, and it's like this it magnetizes you together. The universe will bring you together no matter what the distance. If you are destined to be with a person and you guys have spiritually elevated to this level, that's what will happen. This is kind of like known with like, so like Karen Berg and Rob Berg from the Kabbalah Center, they have a book called, or she does anyways, called Too Unlikely People to Change the World. They were this type of soulmates where it was like revealed in dreams and synchronicities, but then they had this spiritual purpose together in the world. They brought Kabbalah and the Zohar to the masses around the world. That's a big, really, what they did was huge in the like the spiritual lexicon of Kabbalah and the disseminating the Holy Zohar around the world. And and so I always knew I had that level of like destiny in the world. And the soulmate, my counterpart, was out there. It's not till now that I felt like I've met that person. No doubt. It's so many things that it's like absolutely undeniable. Um, the level of trust I have for him in just such a short amount of time, the things he's been saying to me recently, no one could ever love me like this. It's just, it's on a soul level. It's a soul recognition level. It's so beautiful to like see me through his eyes is like so healing. It really is. And the day we're to like gonna be together, like, and I think our energies together are like even more powerful than us on our own. I think there is something really magical about once the time we are together and the impact of our light together in the world is going to cause a ripple effect for sure. And it's really beautiful too, just like the aspects I bring out of him and the aspects he brings out of me. It's just, it's fucking amazing. It's fucking beautiful. um and this is just like the beginning. Like, there's so many years of like, this is what God revealed to me too, is like you're gonna have, you know, these spiritual like missions that I'm gonna put you on, and things are gonna happen, and this is gonna be very like we're gonna have like a very like public life. um but our world, this is what I love about him, is that our world are, and this was, he said this to me recently too, where he's like said he was proud of me that I'm not listening to these other external negative voices, and that he could tell that I've actually tuned that out. And he was right. It was like a conscious decision to tune out these like negative voices, whether it was coming internally from me or externally from other people, being, you know how people are, they're nosy and curious, especially in the world of social media or your past. So I was like feeling, you know, but then I locked in with him and I was like, all right, baby, it's you and me. I see what you're saying. We're locked in. It's literally you and me against the fucking world. I don't care whether it's family, friends, I have to, I was like, he's my number one. So I'm putting my soulmate first. And that's how we're rocking things. So it's like, there's that level of sort of like soul recognition between me and him that happened recently, where it was like this, okay, it's you and me. And so we have this bubble of protection of our life, our romantic life, our communication, which is not influenced by anyone's external opinions. It's me and him and God, and everyone else can take a seat. And it's like, and of course, I love any supportive, like loving energy, but there are a lot of people that don't wish you well, that try to like put seeds of insecurity or jealousy or judgment, and there's no room or space for that in my relationship with him. And we're good. And like, and this is where I've been able to like detach and surrender in a healthy way with him. And now it's like in this beautiful flow. And and uh and yeah, and it's felt good to like let go of that resistant energy externally and internally with like any sort of doubt or fear coming from my trauma in my past. And then once I released that, it was like, oh, there you are, the real you, and like the real me came out. And now it's like when we interact as that like surrendered, loving, thoughtful, like version of ourselves, it's like the chemistry is so like different. It's like so fucking hot. It's like so sexy. It's so um just like beautiful. Like like the things he says to me are so beautiful that I'm like I literally melt. I'm like I'm pinch myself like I cannot believe what a sweetheart he is, how fucking like romantic he is, how he makes me feel like so safe with him, you know. And I hope I give him that same feeling, and I really try to. And I did say things to him sometimes where I was like showing him like how protective I am over him as well. And I think he received that. And so it's good now. It's like real, it's beyond good now. And so now I'm just kind of like working on myself. But you know, I got this little curveball the other day with, and this was kind of like hard because it's happening like, you know, I was preparing for this episode all week and like immersing myself in that process. And this curveball really threw me off my game. And he had just done a video right before it, which thank God, because he really prepared me in ways to like deal with this. And even though I didn't deal with it as smoothly as I would have liked, I had like an emotional reaction. It did trigger my trauma, and that came up for me. And I was able to see that. And then I was able to get past it, even though those first couple days I felt like I was like punched in the stomach by the fucking government, and this like you know prejudice administration. And but I also knew deep down that spirit was telling me to surrender that, and that they don't have power over me, and that my power comes from God and source energy. And even you know my babe was like sharing that in the video of like you're gonna be okay financially and this and that and the other, you're gonna be safe this month, because he knew this was like looming on me. And I didn't know at first because I got mixed up letters. I got this first letter saying that your disability and your insurance is over. Then weeks later I get another video saying no, you are no, almost a month later I get like another letter saying that they're just taking my Medicare out of uh, my disability check, and that they're not deducting that anymore. And but it says, oh, for September you will get this amount for your disability, and then every month thereafter. So I thought everything was like fine again, and I'm like, what is going on? Until you know they pulled my insurance, and then I was like, you know what, let me call and make sure that my disability income is not cut too. And the guy was rude and said, yes, your disability is cut too. And so that was like unexpected. So because of those two letters, it really threw me off. And so when I got that confirmation from Social Security, and I had also called Social Security a month before, and they didn't confirm it like this dude did this time. They were unaware of it. They were unaware of the first letter. So I was getting this like song and dance, this fucked up letter. Then I call, they're unaware of it when I call there. So I'm like, is this a fraud letter? Then I get a second letter that's saying the opposite, that I'm still getting disability for the rest of the year. And so I was like, what the fuck? Then they pull my insurance, so then I call, and then this dude's a dick and was like, "Yeah, the letter in August says it's canceled." Blah 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 blah. And so I was just like, "This is fucking crazy," and it's like monopolizing my energy in a way that's not like healthy because I don't want to go. I have fucking bills and I have like necessities and things I have to fucking pay for. So it's like I wanted to transition out of my disability into something sustainable. And since I wasn't getting the grace or time to fucking do this, I felt under pressure again, like I used to feel in survival mode when I was on my own for many years. And it's been very triggering for me, especially at a time when I'm having someone I love, you know, entering my life, my soulmate entering my life, that I don't want to be going through any sort of like financial like challenge where I'm like not able to like, pay for things. And so, or whatever, or you're like, do my podcast or, have gas, fucking food, fucking, all the necessities, my products, whatever, you know what I mean? And it's like, um, it really upset me this week. And I was just like, thank God for him too, because he really like the video he had done like a day or two before, really like I was able to kind of like hear his voice like telling me like it's going to be okay. And I was able to tell myself that because when my trauma comes in like that, I start to get these overwhelming feelings like, the doubts and fears of like, what if you're not okay? What if this happens? What if that happens? And that pressure of like, what do I do? Do I have to fix this? Instead of like, he was basically telling me, like to surrender to the guidance of source and get tuned in, get tuned in internally to what God or spirit is trying to like direct you. Don't get reactionary to this external tower moment, this shift, this transformation, the shift out of the old with your disability into the new, what God's going to do with you. Like he was reminding me of what deep in my heart I knew, that sometimes my mother doesn't understand things like that spirit communicates to me, or even like people that just, but I don't really have like, I don't hang out with people, so I don't have like friends. I have just people I interact with online, but that's it. So it's just basically my brother who lives in another state, my mom, and my therapist. So it's not even like I'm like too like influenced by anyone, but I know eyes are on me on my social media. So I'm just like, and I'm very like candid about if I'm going through something stressful, I'll express it sometimes on my social media. So I did express because I was really upset when it first happened and I got off Social Security, and it just like hit me. I had like an emotional release and I just like burst into tears. And of course, the first person I messaged was my love. And I was like sobbing, and I'm like, babe, they took away my income and my insurance. And I was just like weeping and like texting him and just like laying there, like feeling like his like freaking energy. And I just feel so grateful that he has like my back spiritually and emotionally. And this was just the beginning. And so it's funny too, because it was strange. So, you know, um, he was talking to me about like me meditating more. And so I started to, but I've been so busy with this episode and just kind of like this curveball of like, oh, do I need to go find work, or like, what's going on, God? Are you bringing something in? Do I just need to be patient? Do I need to do something? So it's just like I've had to surrender and just be calm and kind of wait on sort of like guidance and get tuned in and make sure above all I'm in a state of peace and spiritual alignment so I can hear. And so I've been doing things more meditatively or resting more, having more time to myself, and like getting just laying there and just like And so this is interesting, babe. So he's into Abraham Hicks too, as am I, and have listened to her for years, since Chicago. And she has like a book, and like she's talked about it on her like lectures too, about when she first started meditating, and she would do like a certain amount of time daily and then increase the amounts as she went along, and that it took her a little while to get to where she heard her spirit guides, like auditory heard them. And she said they're the ones who gave her the name that her spirit guide was Abraham. And so she's really thorough about this whole chapter of like how she started off meditating slower and increasing it. And for a while it was just nothing. And she would just listen to a fan blow and blah, 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 blah. And then she says one day this just voice like came in. And so this is something with like my soulmate, is that I think he's better at communicating directly with his spirit guides internally and hearing them. And I think I'm not as in tune with it. And I think sometimes it's because I don't slow down and ask them for help, or I don't get myself into the right frequency of like meditation, because sometimes I'm too like go, 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 go. And he was saying this too, because he's like, your mother's energy pulls on you a lot. And it does. And he was right. But I'm kind of like, it's kind of like, like it's a tough situation to like, it is what it is. It's not like I can just like, I'm not going to like abandon my mother or her dog who's like a baby, there's like certain things where it's just like I check on her, like when she goes to the freaking grocery store, or I don't let her go get gas by herself. I'll go get gas for her. I'm not gonna, like, I had this friend. This is probably part of my trauma too. Is that I grew up with this friend, and her grandmother was kidnapped at a grocery store in Vegas, and some guy murdered her and put her in the trunk of the car. It took them years to find out who did this to their grandmother. I never forgot that story. So I'm like protective over my mother. And since she has no one but me, she has no other family members. Um, she's a widow. My brother lives in another state. All her relatives have passed on. Her brothers she doesn't get along with, and they're very old. So it's just like there's no one looking out for my mom. And then the baby, it's her dog, but I got attached to him. To him, it's like I'm like his dad. And he's like 9 years old now, Chihuahua, and I'm very protective over them. And it's like when my mom goes somewhere, I make her call me. If she's walking from her car through a parking lot into a store, I have her on the phone with me. Like I make sure she's safe. And there's certain things that she's in her 70s, she can't physically do. So I do things around the house for her, and certain things like, put the salt in the water heater, or put the freaking filters in the ceiling, or, there's just certain, take out the trash. There's just like certain things that, so it's just, I feel like, even in the Bible, it says to take care of your parents. And so it's like, even though, my mom neglected me and did things that were not, like, I don't think were a good parent, she wasn't totally horrible. And I put a lot of the like issue on my dad's, because they were more the abusive ones. But my mom was neglectful, I believe, in certain ways, but she was also a great mother in a lot of ways too. And so I try to understand that, generational trauma, and not be so judgy. And your soulmate's going to be protective over you, and like I think we've both been through challenges with our families, and I'm protective over him and he's protective over me. And so I completely love that he's like that with me, like, and but I also want him to like have love for my mother too and understand, like, she had an accident when she was younger and has like a little bit of um like learning disabilities. She's like normal, but she's certain things she doesn't fully like. She's not like a whiz, or she's like really good at lots of things and smart. You would never look at her and think she's disabled, but she had an accident where she was younger, where she doesn't pick up and learn things as well once that accident happened to her, where she lost oxygen to her brain when she was younger. So there's a little bit of like, and there's also this dynamic where I was born on the day that her blood father, died. Years later, I was born on the same day. And so in a way, I feel like I was destined to kind of like look out for my mother. And, it's challenging though, too, because I also want, this is a time period in my life where I need to be putting myself first, and me and my soulmate and my career. And so she understands that. But it's also, I'm just trying to find this balance about how do I do this, to make, like, God, what do you want me to do and what's going to happen? And like, I'm not going to fuck up my relationship for fucking, you know, like I have to find some happy sort of medium where my soulmate's happy. I can still make sure my mom's safe and still have a career. She knows I may travel for a career, or I may, you know, have my own place with him, like, you know, but still have, if me and him want to stay here, live here too. It could be like multiple things. So there's just like a lot of questions I have of like what the future holds. And I just have to play it by ear of what God's going to do, what my soulmate wants to do. We make decisions together. So I'm always going to like, you know, listen to him, and he listens to me, and we'll make the best decision for the big picture of everyone involved. But I wanted him to like, understand this dynamic with my mom. Some people just like assume it's like a certain type of way, and it's not. It's just more like, and he understands, and he says he loves that about to me, how like loving I am and forgiving I am of people. So it's like he just, even though he's protective, he's very understanding too, and like loving, and loves the side of me that's like, able to have like a healthy relationship with my mom, even though we had a very painful like past. And like, have you ever seen Schitt's Creek? It's funny because the David, I mean, I wouldn't compare myself to him. I'm like very different than him, but in ways like the chemistry of him and his mother and that show reminds me of like the chemistry. And it's funny, what's her name? David and my mom's name's Margaret or Maggie. Um, what's her name? Anyways, the mom in Schitt's Creek and the son, the gay son, David. And so, it's funny because David in Schitt's Creek, he finds his soulmate, and like his soulmate like incorporates into his fucking family. Um, and how, wacky Moira, that's her name, Moira. My mom's not as wacky as Moira, but she's like silly and like has that sort of like playful, like funny uh vibe, the way me and my mom do. And but yeah, she's completely accepting of the situation with my soulmate and him moving here or wanting to visit, or that I want to marry him. And she thinks he's cute. She sees what I see. I talk about it with my mother, like not a lot, but also, she knows that I'm like serious about him. And she's told me, she's like, I want to make sure you're whenever she leaves this world, that I'm like, because I don't have any family other than my brother, and he's kind of like in his own world. And so she wants to make sure like I'm okay and that I find my soulmate, and she's totally open to him entering our world. She knows it's like if something were to happen to her, she wants to make sure I'm like good. And like at this point, I'm not good. If something were to happen to her now, I would not, it would be very challenging. So I'm really working. That's why I'm focused on my career, my soulmate, and that those are my priorities. It's like, you know, what God's guiding me to do, my soulmate, and our like mutual decisions and good healthy like communication and patience right now is very important. And yeah, like career, that's why I really put a lot into my Supernal David podcast. And I'm open. I'm have all my music stuff like set up in my home studio, but I might not work on music until I'm like with my soulmate or like living with him, because I think it's I'm a little bit overwhelmed by a lot of the technical aspects, and I think I need a partner. I need a partner in music, and so once we're living together, I know we'll start learning my music studio together, and I know he'll help me get past the areas where I'm stuck. Technically, it's really just technical, literally technical with the keyboard, the computer, the program, the mic, the fucking, it's just like little, like just details of like it's an elaborate program, Ableton Live. So I get stuck on it. I even bought a course on how to do it, and even when I started the course, he's not explaining like how do I get everything interactively like set up. And so I'm just like I'm stuck, and I kept trying and trying all these different things, and I cannot get past it or figure out what I'm doing wrong, to the point where I'm just like, you know what I mean? And it's like it's frustrating. I'm not like the most computer savvy person. So I think I think we're gonna I think he has a lot of musical talents that I want to help bring out of him as well. So I would just love to make music the rest of our lives together. I think it's going to be a big component of our relationship. It's just I instinctually just feel that way, that we're going to be always at home making music, and you guys are going to get to experience some like really cool, exciting, experimental, fun music from us. There's something also about him that I just think that we have so much in common, whether it's music or the spiritual sort of like spiritual career thing, that it's like I can see us just like really like working together on so many different like projects or whatnot. Like we're going to create our own little empire. I've already had some visions of like the titles for like our company or businesses, where I'm already getting like ideas for different projects and like name titles that I haven't even shared with him yet, that I will, when the time comes. And yeah, I'm just really excited for the future, and I'm just getting rid of resistance and being a good listener and refining myself. And thank you, babe, for being such a channel of like spirit to me, because sometimes I get distracted or whatever, and I don't always hear what spirit's wanting me to pay attention to. And babe, you really do give me some of those viewpoints from spirit that I'm like, like unaware of, and it does help me process or be strong or shift something or try something different, it really like helps. I love that you do that, and thank you. It means like so much to me. Um, how thoughtful you are, and I feel honestly so blessed that you take the time to like think about me like that and like help me. Um, it's just, it doesn't get better than that. It really doesn't. We're two Geminis. We're two good communicators, and that he is. I'm just like very impressed. And he says that about me too. You know, I can tell we're like, it's what we do. We're like communicators. We're air signs. But all right. So where do I want to shift this next? I want to. So we got some cool projects. There was a lot going on. I'm already an hour and a half in, and there was so many projects. So I first started off um, watching Waco, David Koresh, that whole crazy debacle. And so there was a couple of things popping up where I was like, okay, we're gonna do like an episode on like cults and what is a cult. Oh, this fucking chair is gonna be the, or this pillow is just on this chair is not comfy. Okay, let's look up cult. What does a cult mean? Just to get the exact definition. No, cult definition. A system of religious veneration and devotion directed toward a particular figure or object. A misplaced or excessive admiration for a particular person or thing, a cult of personality surrounding the leaders. A person or thing that is popular or fashionable, especially among a particular section of society. Anyways, we get it, right? And so I was like kind of watching a little bit about that David Koresh. It's on Disney, done by A&E. It's called Waco, Madman or Messiah, which it was like really crazy. And then I was watching Aftermath, Leah Remini Aftermath about Scientology, where I watched a Q&A episode. I was watching, you know, like the regular episodes, then I was like, they had a Q&A episode where they go over the whole season. I was like, oh, this is perfect because it'll refresh. So starting off with the David Koresh one, it was just like, I had never known the full story. I always heard about it, you know, where it was like him and his congregation had gone up against the government or the sheriffs in Waco, Texas, and it was like a bloodbath, and a lot of people died. And I didn't know any other details other than that. So I watched that, and it was just, that man is sick. It was really disturbing. I had a strange synchronicity about it, though, during um, where it was in regards to revelations from the Bible. How did that come about? It was like, so I had also got this other epiphany that I was going to watch The Seventh Sign, which I may still watch. I was using that, I channeled that as part of the content as well with Demi Moore, which is about the seven seals breaking, you know, like in the portion from Revelations. So I start Googling about the seven seals from that movie and stuff, and I'm like, I don't know why I channeled that movie. It was just that movie came into my head, The Seventh Sign or something like that. And I was like, I didn't understand why, and that's how it happens is like certain movies or things will come up as I'm doing the podcast and I'll be like, oh, I'll get like a synchronicity and then I'm like, okay, this is on theme with the episode. And so I use it as content. And then a lot of times synchronicities will happen between that content and whatever I'm studying. And that's the fun part about doing the Supernal David podcast is the synchronicities that happen spiritually from source energy, where I feel like I'm a source is communicating secrets to me through signs and synchronicities. And so I start like reading about Revelations, which I have not read a lot of the Old Testament. I haven't read Revelation since I was like a little kid, even though that was the title for my album. It wasn't because I read Revelations inside and out. It was more like symbolic of like the happy ending and also revelations of like telling my story of like how challenging my life has been or the lessons I've learned. That's what my album was kind of about. But there was like a homage to Revelations, which is like when all the good stuff happens. I mean, it's not good at first. There's a lot of chaos in the world, but Revelations ends up becoming the end of pain and suffering and the final redemption and all that, and resurrection of the dead and blah, blah, blah. And so I always felt like it was the happy ending part of the Bible. And so I'm like reading about, the lamb with the different eyes and the like, the seals and the when the seals break, that there's different things that are going on of chaos in the world, and there's these signs. It refers to it also as well in the Holy Zohar. Talks about the final redemption and the two messiahs and Moses and all these things happening all over in the world, and these signs that were in the time of Messiah and that we're close to the final redemption. So there's these like markers, and so the weird thing is then I go back to watching Waco with Madman and Messiah. Right after all that, I do all that and I'm like taking like photos of like a lamb and the seals and doing it on my Instagram with the movie. Then I go back to watch Waco. Not even 2 minutes in, they start talking about on that the lamb and the seals from Revelations and that David Koresh guy. And I was like, that is fucking crazy that I channeled that movie, which led me to fucking look into the subject about Revelations with the lamb and the seals, which I had never studied before. Then right when I go back to start watching this totally separate fucking movie, and 2 minutes in, I already started the movie, like probably like 30, 40 minutes in. And when I come back to watch it after posting that lamb with the seals on my Instagram, I go and they start talking about the lamb with the seals. I was like, this is not a fucking coincidence, bitch. This is what I'm talking about, where I just have like these synchronicities with things. And sometimes you just have to kind of like let things lead you in directions. Spirit works like that a lot of times. You're just like, where's the wind blowing? You know what I mean? You have to surrender. You have to listen. There was a line I wrote today from that song, from a song too. From Heart, it's from Barracuda. Or no, excuse me, it's from Stairway to Heaven. What does she say? Like, and if you listen really hard. So, my babe was telling me to meditate more so I can hear. He said basically there's a guide that's trying to like guide me right now and spiritually for like my career, and that I have to like tune in to like hear him. And so the other day, babe, so like I'm taking a fucking nap, and this is where I was consciously starting to make myself rest more, or even just lay there and meditate, or sit there and meditate, or lay in the bath and meditate, or I'm just doing more meditation and slowing down, and I'm like shutting out the external and spending more time alone and being like focused on, like my artistic creation with the podcast and yada yada yada. And but I'm taking this nap and I hear this auditory voice. It could have been my babe channeling his voice to me. It could have been a spirit guide. I don't know who it was, but it was a very auditory voice. And I haven't had an auditory voice sound that auditory in a long fucking time, where it was almost as if somebody was like right in my ear and said something. It was like, and he goes, I'm like asleep. And I just hear this voice right in my ear. This is just a few days ago, say, be careful who you trust in business. Now, my man has said that before to me in his videos not too long ago. He knows I'm going into different directions with my career, and he's warned me to be careful about who I go into business with or sign any deals with. So I don't know if it was a spirit guide, an angel telling me that or what, but it was like I woke up like so excited, like, oh my God, I feel like I heard like a spirit guide. Because I'm like, and it's like I hear things, but it's not like so auditory. It's almost like I feel like it's so subtle for me when I channel stuff. It almost feels like I'm just having an idea. It doesn't feel like an auditory voice. This felt like, and I had an auditory experience like that years ago when I went to like an international Kabbalah event for Rosh Hashanah, and I was standing like in the aisles of all the audience, and we're doing all the prayers and stuff on the big screen, that they're projecting for Rosh Hashanah, and all of a sudden I hear, and they're blowing the shofar and all that. I hear like it sounded like an angel said something right up in my ear, to where I turned around and looked around thinking somebody had said something in my ear. And that was one of the first times where I heard such an auditory voice, and I knew it was like an angel just said something in my ear, or a spirit guide. So this is what that felt like, but I was like asleep, but it was like so loud that it like woke me up. Like I heard it, and then I woke up like, what the fuck? Like, it was so clear and like loud and auditory, not like yelling loud, but it was just like as if somebody went right up to my ear and was like, do. And he basically said, be careful who you trust in business or go into business with. It was just something like that. Be careful who you trust in business, I think is what it said. And I was like, wow, what a beautiful like warning. You know what I mean? Like, it just feels good to like feel like spirit guides or spirit looking out or guiding you, or that your soulmate's like looking out for you. And like, I don't know, I just feel very blessed lately, even though I've had these tower challenging moments. It's more me surrendering my fear and not taking the weight of the world on myself anymore, and surrendering to God and spirit, and surrendering to my soulmate, and like not bringing that level of anxiety and trauma to my relationship. And he's helping me heal that and surrender, and like he really does help me do that. And that's what a beautiful soulmate relationship does. And I share things that I feel like are healing to him too, that are from my vantage point. And sometimes we have our own blind spots. And I think that is a beautiful aspect of soulmate, twin flame, is that they can reflect that to each other, and you grow together, you learn together, you listen. And so there's this beautiful, like, he's not also great at communicating these things in a way that doesn't feel like he's like bossing me around or controlling me or making me feel inadequate or insecure. It's coming from like a very thoughtful, loving, unconditionally loving, like protective. And then he listens when I say stuff too. He'll come back and like, he'll let me know that listened or he paid attention to what I was doing with this or that. Like he's like watching and he's listening and he's pondering and he's not just making like rush reactive like responses. He takes the time and processes and then communicates, and like when he comes to his table and does his videos. So I still like, I love, this is one of my favorite lines from that song that was the theme for the promotion for this episode, was Margaret, where she goes, "It's the soul that you bring to the table." I was like, I love that line. That just reminds me of when he comes to his table and does his spiritual, communication to me. It's just, and then when I'm doing that here, doing the same, it's such like a beautiful sort of like, it reminds me too, like when they refer to like King David, like there's like something from one of the Bible portions where it talks about him and doing stuff at a table. And so this is kind of like my magic table that I make my music on, I do my podcast on. It's like every time it's sacred, I set it up. Speaking of that, should we burn a little? I got like a new sage bundle with sweet grass, which I've never used a sage bundle with sweet grass. I want to Google a little about sweet grass. Sweet grass plant. Sweet grass, scientifically named Herocloe odorata, is a fragrant, cool season perennial grass native to North America and Eurasia. Where's that? Eurasia? Is that Europe? Known for its vanilla-like scent when dried, it's a sacred plant in many indigenous cultures, used in smudging ceremonies to purify spaces and attract good spirits. The plant spreads aggressively by underground rhizomes, preferring moist, rich soils and full sun to light shade, and is often grown in containers to control its spread. Okay, so we'll do a little smudging. Let me do a smudging prayer from the Holy Zohar. This is what they tell you to scan these 2 paragraphs before you smudge, and then you scan the 72 names of God for spiritual cleansing. I also add in there banishing the remnants of evil as another 72 name of God to activate the energetic, the energy of the sage. So I'm scanning the Hebrew Aramaic right now, and then when you know, you know. When you're good. Oh my God. Oh my goodness. When you're good as gold. Fucked up my fucking song. Right, so here's spiritual cleansing. Mem, Vav, Mem. Spiritual cleansing. Mem, Vav, Mem. Do. This is ripped. Banishing the remnants of evil. Lamed, Aleph, Vav. So speaking of like banishing weird spirits, we'll go into a little bit about Poltergeist too. So I was having all these weird themes with like Cain from like the last Supernal David episode. It was in the Bible portion. Then It's and also in the book of Enoch. Then this week I was having like synchronicities when I chose Poltergeist 2 and this Cain character, and also in the Bible or Zohar portion as well. Um, and so I was like, okay, yeah, we're gonna do Poltergeist 2, where there's this shaman in that named Taylor, because I was gonna do the shamanic dreaming book as well. I was like, okay, I love this aesthetic from Poltergeist 2 with this character Cain, who's this biblical based basically off this biblical character playing the evil dark, entity who manifests as this old scary man. And and Taylor's my last name, so I love the Indian in Poltergeist that protects the family in Carol Ann. The shaman or whatever, his name is Taylor. So I was like, okay, I'm totally feeling this aesthetic for this episode. That kind of goes with this theme, Taylor. And then the whole Cain thing being led into this episode as well from last episode, which is, the son of Adam and Eve who kills his brother Abel and then has like really bad karma after that because God punishes him. And so I had weird synchronicities with this movie as well all week. So first of all, I'm talking about it with my mom in the room one night, and the baby's on his bed getting ready. Like he has his own little bed on her bed. That I bought him this like really cozy dog, like it's like just like a big rectangular, like really cushiony bed, and I set it on half of my mom's bed, and so then she like covers him up before bed or whatever, and and all of it, I'm talking about the episode and about Cain and like the synchronicities with this character Cain and who he is from the Bible, and this David Koresh thing. Oh, that was a synchronicity of the thing from Cain. So that's what brought it about, was the David Koresh movie. So I'm telling you, like in that movie, he's like, everyone thinks he's like the fucking second coming of like Jesus, or you know what I mean. They think he's like the next King David, or whatever, the Messiah, the Lamb. They're thinking all these things, about him. But he's really like fucking wackadoodle as fuck. He's like basically like raping these fucking young girls. Apparently in Texas back then, you just had to have parental permission to have sex with anyone at the age of 13 or 14. And so he was like having sex with like all the congregation's like daughters. He was impregnating the wives, and there was this whole like thing about that he, because he's righteous, he's producing righteous children, so these husbands are letting their wife like sleep with him to have righteous children, all this crazy shit. He's like brainwashing the kids, that saying some sort of prophetic thing where they're all going to be murdered one day, and that they need to know how to use guns and to like protect themselves, and they have like these little kids running around with guns, and shows this like scene where they're doing like Ring Around the Rosies, and they're like, instead of like a cute little child like chant or nursery rhyme, they're like saying something like about the outside world killing them and they have to protect themselves with guns, but making it into like a singing little like Ring Around the Rosies song. I like the footage of it, and I was like, this is fucking crazy. Like the footage, and then you hear like all these recordings of the way he would yell at the congregation and like really verbally abusive to the congregation, or you hear all the stories from the people that survived, because like him and like something crazy, like I don't know if it's like 80 people and like 20 children or something like that, like a huge amount of people die. Their whole whatever it's called, like not plantation, but they build their own little sort of like, it's not just like a church, it's like a whole like different buildings and like, what's the word? Compound is what I think they were referring it to. Catches on fire when they're like, under siege with like, the police and the government, and they all die in it. So it reminded me of in Poltergeist 2, Kane convinces all these people, which is revealed psychically from the mother, Joanne, I believe her name is. Is that's her real name as an actress? What's her name? Diane is her name in the movie. So Diane gets a psychic vision where Kane took all these people and he was promoting the end of the world is coming. We have to save ourselves in this cave, and he gets all these people from his congregation because he's a reverend into this cage, and then he shows them push like a boulder over the entrance, so they're sealed in by a boulder permanently into this fucking cavern, and he's like screaming crazy shit like, it's the end of the world, and he's like, those reverends that like chant stuff in like almost like a scary way. He's like that, like a scary reverend, and like that scene is so creepy where he like comes to the door. So I'll get to that because I had a synchronicity with that fucking scene. So it still gives me the fucking chills. So I'm telling that, okay, so so those people die, he seals them in there, and then they die. And then Diane, there's like a scene where she's getting the vision of him doing that. Because now Kane is stalking her, but the mom is clairvoyant or psychic, and she taps into who he really is when he's trying to prey on her daughter, Carol Ann. That's who he's after. And the shaman lets them know he's not after you guys. He's actually after Carol Ann specifically. And so to me, that's what David Koresh was doing, brainwashing these people with all this like warped ass lies, and like it really even making them being shamed about, he's like making them being shamed about anything. Like he would like made this girl like shoot her doll because the doll had like a private part on the fucking doll, and he said it was like perverted and to shoot the doll or like anything. He was making everything intimately seem like it was like a sin, but meanwhile he's fucking all these fucking like women. It's like he was just like a lunatic basically, and he abuses all these people and they're believing everything. And this is like the true sort of thing of like a cult leader, is like somebody who's like brainwashing people and abusing them, and these people are like trapped in this fucking scary ass like sadistic environment. There's another like I forget what they're called. I think River Phoenix and Rose McGowan were in that same sort of cult growing up with their families, where it's like they're like raping kids and shit like that. That's like one of those other ones that's like really scary. I forget what the name of it is. I have Rose McGowan's book Brave. I don't know if we'll get into it on this episode. I have her book Brave. I like certain things about Rose McGowan, and then some things politically we don't always agree. But I didn't read all of her book, but I read a good portion of it. And like I remember there's a whole chapter of her talking about where they escape that cult, and how they would rape the children, and the children would think they could be safe with all these different adults around. And like I have heard Teal Swan saying that she thinks these environments are not those environments, but environments where it's like a like a collective fucking, what is it called, community. Of course it has to be really secure and safe, and like and these ones it wasn't, and these kids were like raped. So that's all I'm saying, is that it's just like you have to really be like watch over your children and be careful who you like send your children off alone to be with. Even that happened to Teal Swan, where her parents let her go with an adult who said he was going to help her heal, or like with her learning disabilities or whatever they thought she had, and he ends up raping her. So it's like she, you know, but I think what Teal is saying, like in a healthy, proper community like that, where it's like it's great for children to not just have two parents or one parent. They have different people that they can go to for different emotional needs. But by all means, like even at the Kabbalah Center, even in my mother's church, like you shouldn't just be letting your children run wild and other people like tend to your children. I think you should always know where your child is at all times, who they're with, and make sure you really, really trust somebody before you leave your child alone with somebody. That's all I gotta say. That's how I would be as a parent. I don't even leave my fucking chihuahua with anyone. The only person I would leave my chihuahua with is my soulmate or my mother or my brother. So anyways, so the synchronicity with that was just like what started it. Once I watched the David Koresh thing, I was like, oh, it reminds me of like the Kane guy from Poltergeist 2, where he gets those people to go into the cave, and it's basically like he's like Chicken Little, like the sky's gonna fall, it's the end of the world. And David Koresh did that and made them like, convince them to like turn against the government and all this shit. And I didn't get to the part where it goes into, I got through the first, they have two parts. The first part is like 2 hours long. I watched that whole thing. Then when it gets to the actual, like, I still have to finish the part where it's like, but I watched enough. I got enough of a gist of it where it was like, ooh, this is intense. It's like hard to watch the whole fucking thing because it's like 4 hours. And I already knew what's going to happen, but I heard enough in the first 2 hours of how sick and twisted he was with all the brainwashing and rape and blah, 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 blah. And the way how it's strange that many people fell for his shit. Like how gullible. I was just like, how gullible are these people to let this person like give away their children and their wives and like let him speak to them the way he did. I was just like, it made me just like question how somebody could do that to that amount of people. I don't know. It's a small town. Maybe they're just like uneducated or come from abuse. Like obviously some people escaped. Like one of the situations, the mother leaves with her backpack and sneaks out, and then the daughter still wants to be in contact with the mother, and he's like, no, she's a traitor, you can't communicate with your own mother. Now they talk about that type of shit in Scientology too. Now I experienced 20 years in the Kabbalah Center. I dealt with discrimination for being gay. Long story short, I'm not going to get into all this. This is another reason I was like bringing up the subject, is that I dealt with multiple community members or teachers discriminating me for being gay, them using excuses like, oh, it's not Jewish tradition, David, this, that, the other. Some of them just blatant fucking nasty cruelty. It just like, that's whatever. They think that for whatever reason. Some of them obviously Republicans, and you're even in a political party that thinks gay people are evil or Satan's spawn or who fucking knows. And then I got into it with one of the teachers over a situation like this. He banned me from the center, and all the people that I knew that I was friends with turned their backs on me. So this is what I'm saying. When I watched the Scientology stuff too, Aftermath, Leah Remini, Aftermath, something Scientology. What's the actual title? This was also on Disney Plus if you want to watch this, all 3 seasons. Leah Remini, Scientology, and The Aftermath. A similar thing. This thing was weird too because the head of the Scientology, his name is David as well. So I was like, this is interesting. I'm doing cults and these different culty like religions or whatever have the name David. I thought it was like funny. Not funny, but like interesting because it's Supernal David podcast. Get it, huh? And it's funny because most people like that are like really abusive and religious would probably call someone like me because I'm openly gay like some sort of like cult if I was to try to do spirituality. And that was the thing, like when I would go into spiritual environments like Christianity or Catholicism or Kabbalah or Judaism, I would be treated as if I was some sort of like fucking like predator because I was openly gay. And it's just like, it's funny how sometimes, like the people you think are like a certain way are not the ones that are bad. And then the ones that you wouldn't think are the fucking worst. You know what I mean? And it's like, I just think it's funny, like how like David Koresh would try to make this like idea of what the Messiah is like really like. Like no one would ever think the Messiah is gay. You know what I mean? I think God is just really funny like that. He really, people are just dumb. A lot of people are very dumb, especially in a lot of religious environments, and they perpetuate a lot of religious ignorant dogma that's just like not true, and they discriminate against my community or anyone, and they like just like misinterpret like masculine, feminine, souls, bodies, like intersex. Yeah, there was this really cool post by Jinx Monsoon where she was talking about the different amounts of like intersex, where it's like sometimes it's body parts, but sometimes it's not even body parts, it's chromosome differences that aren't even physically like seen on the body. And just like how if a child is born with like multiple parts, that the doctor and the parents will decide on which sex they're going to decide for that child to be, that it's not okay for them to have both. And they decide on a sex. But she was saying about how they project trans people as adults making those decisions for themselves as some sort of evil thing, but yet straight doctors are doing that all the time. When people, and back in the day they would use this word, which is not politically incorrect anymore, hermaphrodite, which they use now, intersex or trans. And so I just thought it was interesting how, if you notice too, there was a section in the Holy Zohar called The Secrets of the Masculine and Feminine, which influenced one of my episodes, and I was speaking on that's why certain physical, like masculine men are like certain men are really ultra feminine or masculine, or vice versa. Women can be very masculine or feminine as well, and that the soul is in 2 parts and individually in each one of us, masculine and feminine. And and just like how people get so caught up in the fucking dynamics and the like logistics of all that and use that to like oppress people. It's just fucking ridiculous. Anyways, and so then the next scene from Poltergeist, it was like a synchronicity, was like there's a scene where Carol Ann's like sitting on the lawn, and it starts raining, and that old man Kane starts walking in front of their house. Now they had already seen him at the mall before, when Diane, the mother, and Carol Ann were at the mall, and she takes her eyes off her daughter for a few minutes, and he tries to approach and like kidnap Carol Ann, and then the mother meets him and thinks he's creepy, and then all of a sudden he's walking in front of their house. So she's like, Carol Ann, come inside. It's starting to rain. They're all going in the house, and Carol Ann's just hypnotized, and the rain's pouring on her, like as if Kane, he's walking in front of her house, staring at her, like singing this scary ass fucking like song, and like almost like he has hypnotized her. And it's more fucking drinks. And she's like the mother runs out and was like, sees the guy coming up in the driveway, and they all like come out, the dad and the dog and the brother or something, because they hear this guy coming up and singing. And Carol Ann's just kind of like transfixed by him, and like the mother grabs her and is like trying to take her in, and he's like, oh, can I come in and talk to you? Blah 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 blah. Like very like preachy, like, you know, like he's gonna, like he's like a Jehovah Witness coming to the door, you know, talking about being saved or whatever. That's like how he's acting and what he's saying. And he's trying to come in the house, and the dad's like, no, we can talk right here, and shuts the screen door. And then he starts going on this spiel, and he starts hypnotizing the fucking dad, to where the dad's like listening to him, and you can see like over his face, like his features like change, as if he's like hypnotized, because the guy's trying to get his way into the house. And Carol Ann senses it too, and she says, Dad, like, you can hear her say something, like she's trying to like get her dad away from him too, because she knows the guy's evil. And then he said, once Carol Ann says something, you see the dad snap out of the like being hypnotized, and he's like, no, like we're not interested. And then the fucking guy goes all scared, and he's all, he starts screaming in the door, you're all gonna die. Like it is one of the his character is one of the creepiest fucking guys in all like scary movies. Like it's still to this day, still gets number one in my book. And honestly did such a good acting job. And the actor was actually like a very talented guy. Excuse me. I feel like my voice is going hoarse from talking so much, and like a little congested. Sorry, that's my inhaler. I have a little bit of asthma since I was a child. And anyway, so then, before they go in the house, when they're about to all go in the house, and then before the dad shuts the screen in the guy's face, he goes down to pet the dog. He pets the dog, and the dog goes, arr! Like yelps and runs. Now back to the story where I was telling you about my mother, and I was in the room, and she's putting the baby puppy to bed, and I'm telling her about Kane and the connection between Kane and David Koresh, and how, you know, they're brainwashing these people to follow them into like a death situation, and the link between that. And that's why I'm tying these two movies together for this cult episode. And now this is before I see the scene with the dog, but I've already started promoting like Poltergeist 2 as one of the content already on my Instagram. So I'm telling my mom, and all of a sudden the puppy's just sitting there on the bed as I'm talking about this Kane character and David Koresh, and my dog goes, yelps. Like just like how the dog in Poltergeist 2 yelps when Kane puts his hand on the dog. Now, My dog yelps and runs towards me, and I pick him up, and I immediately think the thought that something touched him, like a spirit touched him. That was my natural instinct. And the fact that I was talking about these two like evil spirits, and then that happened, I immediately thought, oh, this spirit better not be trying to like target my fucking dog. So I got really pissed. I saged the fucking house. And he was like really scared after that. Like something had scared him. And me and my mom were like bewildered. And I literally said to my mom, don't you think it's weird I'm talking about these two evil spirits? And then that happens. I was like, what if one of them tried to like touch Chili and like hurt him or startled him or scared him or, you know? So then I go into my room, have not seen this scene from Poltergeist 2, probably have not watched the movie in like a fucking years, and not even thinking anything about it. I wouldn't even recall that scene. But I'm pulling up content for Poltergeist 2 right after that. Like I go in my room, start pulling, especially because I was talking about Kane and that happens. So I'm pulling up scenes to promote this Poltergeist 2 as the content. So I'm pulling multiple scenes because I use multiple scenes when I'm promoting shit throughout the 2 weeks or a week before. And so it's that scene with Carol Ann on the grass. So as it's raining, he's coming up into the driveway. They're all trying to go into the house. He goes to pet the dog, and I watched this 20 minutes, 15 minutes after this happens to my dog. I watched that scene by coincidence or not, obviously not. And but I was led to that scene somehow, which that baffles me. And when I see that scene, I got the fucking chills all over my body. Where Kane touches the dog and the dog fucking yelps. And I'm talking about fucking Kane in the other room with my dog, and my dog yelps as if something touched him. I'm getting chills on the hair on my arms is like, ooh, gave me the fucking heebie-jeebies. So the next sort of synchronicity was, so I knew I had seen a Carol Ann Pop doll or whatever, the Funko Pop doll, but I didn't remember where I saw it. Because I see those at like Target, lots of different stores, Barnes and Noble, blah, 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 blah. And so I was like in the bookstore, and they had they had like a ton of these Funko Pop dolls. And I was like, oh, I remember finding like a Poltergeist one. And I was like, I don't remember if I saw it at Target, if I saw it Barnes and Noble. And so there's 3 huge sections of all these dolls. And I go and look at all of them hoping to find it, don't see anything. But one is like a rotating like cylinder thing where they're like on 4 different sides of it. Now, the first front row, there's ones behind them too. So I look at all the outside ones on the 2 separate sections in that area. There's like a ton of them. Do not see it. I'm about to give up. And I'm like, David, keep looking. Start pulling them out and see if you can find one behind. So I literally go down 2 rows of pulling them out. I get to the 3rd roll and I'm about to fucking give up. Lo and behold, I pull one thing out and there's a fucking Carol Ann sitting there. Another jaw dropping. I was just like, I was shocked. I literally was. I was like, I didn't think I was going to find it. Also, I was having like weird incidences as I was gathering all the things. Like I was getting visions of what I wanted. Then some of the things I wasn't sure if they still were carrying them, like this bee tarot, because of the, oh yeah, I forgot to read that Bible portion about, no, I read it, but I'm going to reiterate why I got this deck. Was inspired by the Zohar portion about the 2 messiahs, and it refers to them as like honey. Hold on, let me read it for you. And that's what inspired this deck. So it says, the two Messiahs, Messiah the son of Joseph and Messiah the son of David, have no power to redeem Israel except with you. It is because of you that they are held back from redeeming Israel. Finish saying these precious things of which it says, more to be desired are they than gold, even much fine gold, sweeter also than honey and the honeycomb. It's referring to the two Messiahs as that. And so I was like, popped in my head, I was like, this B tarot deck. So I go there to the bookstore. It's not on the shelf where I saw it before. And then it's funny how sometimes if you you can give up and then not find, or you can keep pushing and searching and then you find. And so I was like, for some reason, I was just like, go check behind the counter and see if they have see if it's back there. Cause I know sometimes they keep some of the decks behind the counter now. And then I look, I see it. It was there, but it was like that with the Shamanic Dreaming book. The other synchronicity, and that's a psalm too. More to be desired are they than gold, even much fine gold, sweeter also than honey and the honeycomb. It's also from Tehillim, 1911. Interesting. So also this other book that were the two main books, Shamanic Dreaming and Your Soul Contract Coded, this was inspired by my babe, because he was talking about certain things he wanted me to learn to develop myself spiritually, and just to know myself better. And he said something about discovering things about my name or through numerology. And so then I'm thinking, some of these subjects, I'm like, okay, I'm going to look for something about astrology. I'm going to look for something about numerology, and was taking his advice. And I love to incorporate things I learned from him into the podcast. And so I see this book it's not just like one of these, it's one of the ones they're displaying on, it was on the top or whatever. And I see it, I'm like, oh, your soul contract decoded, discovering the spiritual map of your life with numerology. I'm like, ding, 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 ding. This is totally on theme what my baby was telling me to look into. So then when I read the back, it gets even more. Listen to this. A soul contract reading will tell you, well, hold on, let me start up. So it's two little paragraphs I'm going to read. So hidden within your birth name is a blueprint for life, a spiritual map of the destiny the universe intends for you. This book equips you to decode this blueprint by converting the sounds of your name into numbers and then interpreting the result. By means of a soul contract reading, you can empower yourself to overcome your challenges, build on your strengths, manifest your dreams, and access your true life's purpose, your soul's purpose. Now get this. A soul contract reading will tell you who you are and what your soul purpose is. The procedure is based on an amazingly accurate system of numerology with its roots in antiquity. What does antiquity mean? The ancient paths, especially the period before the Middle Ages. Okay. Names are converted into the sounds of 22 phonetic Hebrew letters. Hello, I study Kabbalah and the Hebrew letters, Aramaic. Names are converted into the sounds of 22 phonetic Hebrew letters, which are then converted into numbers, which Kabbalists do numerology as well, within a diagram of the Star of David. Could this book not have been more fucking meant for me? I was like, and the fact that my soulmate channeled that idea, that which led me straight to this book, was so fucking cool. And yeah, and then the other deck I got, which is part of this feature, I just came across this online and I was like, oh, this is right up my alley. This deck really reminds me, like, my soulmate, he would love this deck. I would love to get him this deck too because I think he would really like this. Yeah, the esoteric Buddhism of Japan, and he's really into Buddhism as well. He's into like anime and shit like that. Oh my god, my voice. This might be a 3 fucking parter because we're already like 2:25. My voice is getting strained. And I haven't even got into reading from the books or doing a reading from the 2 tarots. So this might be a fucking 3-parter. Because the other part 2 has 2 more books and 2 decks as well. This might be a fucking 4-parter. So, all right, we'll go to 3 hours, and then whatever's not done, I'll just do a little bonus episode, I guess. But yeah, so I've talked enough about, the cult thing. Now let's get into a little bit from these books, and I'll do like a reading from like maybe one of these decks because I got 30 minutes left and I'm not going to go overboard. Also, yeah, I said I was going to sage. I got to be careful in my room too because there's a smoke alarm, and I set off my alarm the other day for trying to sage in here. All right, I have the fan directed toward the fan. I'll just do a little. I have my little abalone shell, my little sage stand. But I have this to cover it up so it doesn't set off the alarm. I did the smudging prayer and then I forgot to light the damn smudge. Okay. I want to smell what this sweet grass smells like. Oh, I kind of like that smell. I'm smudging you guys. Is that pretty? How it's like the sweetgrass is braided. Oh, this too. So yeah, I got to share this story. So there'll be more frog theme on part 2 or part 3 as well. So my babe was like having this reading with like a frog where he got this vision, psychic vision about a frog being relevant, and then he pulled a card right after, which was shocking of a frog. And so I was like, he's really good at like tuning into like things for me that end up influencing the podcast, which is we've been doing that shit since the beginning. And and so I was like, okay, when I'm shopping for my stuff, I'm like, if I see something of a frog, I'm gonna get it. Which it was funny because at first I was at Barnes and Noble and they had this like it was like a stuffed animal frog with a crown on, like a king's crown, and then it had like a little sign that said help, like HALP, like help. I was like, that's me. That's like me to my boyfriend. Help. So, but I was like, you know what? I'm not feeling that. And it was overpriced. I'm like, okay, I'm not getting that. But then when I go to my metaphysical shop, I see this little froggy, and look, he fits perfectly in my little diamond ring thing. Like, exactly. Like, won't even slide around. Like, it was like meant to fit in this diamond ring. And it was just, it could not be more perfect. Look how cute. And he had a little frog like statue that he like looked at and pulled and said there was something about a frog, and then he pulled a tarot card about a frog right after, which was baffling. And so I was like, okay, there's something about a frog if I see a frog. And now I was at my last, it was the last stop. I was going to get some incense and some sage and maybe a bracelet, a knickknack, who knows. And I fucking see this cute little frog, and it was not expensive. It was literally like 12 fucking dollars. I was like, this is the one. This is the frog. Then I also got this frog shirt, which is really cute. And I thought it was a theme, the cute theme too, of like, you know, where they say about princesses kissing the frog and it turns into a prince, or like leaping like towards you, like me and my soulmate making efforts to like to each other. It was also, he was pulling on like the healing, how healing water is, like mikvahs and healing your body and your spirit through water, drinking lots of water or submerging your body. Speaking of that, I might share a mikvah prayer online so people can have the actual like mikvah prayer to submerge their bodies and cleanse. With the frog thing, but I find this, so I was like, okay, I got two shirts. So I got this shirt, which is like a Buddha brand, and then see like on the back it has like Buddha. And so yeah, I was like, okay, this is the shirt for episode 1. And then I find one like a frog shirt where it's like this cute cartoon, which I've never really heard about it. It's called Frog and Toad. And it's like these two different frogs. And they're all cute little shirts. One's like where the one frog's holding him on his shoulders, or one where they're like in a boat, one's fishing and one's doing something else. They're just like these two frogs that are always like together. Then I get this cute shirt because I like the green shirt better. Just I like how it looked better, the material, the color. But it was so cute. It shows, and I was like, this is how my soulmate is with me. Like when I'm going through something, I just feel like he's energetically and consciously there with me, even if he's not physically there with me. You'll see the shirt when I wear it on the next episode. And it's from that cartoon Frog and Toad, and it shows them sitting together, and it's almost like one of them's like upset about something, and it's like Toad, or like Frog is sitting there in silence, blah 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 blah, like, and then it says Toad is sitting there right next to him along with him, basically just showing like, you know, like how even in their silence they're supporting each other. And I was like, this is so symbolically like beautiful and romantic. So I got that shirt, and so I'm going to wear that on the next episode. If you haven't noticed, I'm a fucking romantic with my man. If he wanted a fairy tale, he's getting one. Little does he know. No, he's psychic. He probably knows. Legit, like, he's definitely got it. We both have a gift, but he's definitely like, the way he speaks and can like hear auditory, his spirit guides is fucking crazy to me. But I love it. I just feel like how blessed is that? Like, to have your soulmate be able to do that. That's why he just really makes me feel like safe. Like he can see things that I can't fucking see to protect me. It's just um I love that. And me too. Like even though I may not get it so auditory, I get it through synchronicities and dreams more so, but I'm trying to I think he's going to really help me develop these other dormant gifts I have and get them to come online, which is what he's actually just been helping me with this week. And I think that's why he was recommending me look into certain types of subjects and for me to meditate more, because he's trying to get me more in tune, and I'm like, I need to be more in tune, and it's so healing to kind of like, his advice is just perfect. It's like, I need to slow down, I need to turn out the external, I need to like meditate more, I need to like eat the right things, exercise, be in water. There's lots of things that you can do, and if you stay disciplined with it, that's how you get your gifts to come online. I study this with Rose Cole. She has a shaman college that I almost went to, and I did her like 3-day like event and was considered to be a student, but it was too expensive for me. But she taught me about a lot about like getting your dormant gifts to come online. And a lot of times we have gifts that just have not become manifest yet, because there's different steps that you need to like go through, whether that's cleansing or slowing down, getting in a vibrational frequency balance, our alignment. So there's lots of like techniques you can use to like refine your intuition. um So when I do a part 2, we'll just go straight into reading from the books and doing like a reading from one of the tarot decks. So I'll do a B tarot thing. And I haven't even gone into my notes. What the hell is this? Let me check my notes and see if there's anything else I didn't want to include. We got 20 minutes left. Oh yeah, also when I was advertising like this episode, there's a song called Gay Messiah by Rufus Wainwright, and I love there's like a lyric where it's like, what did he say? Let me look it up. So it's Rufus Wainwright. He's gay. I've liked his music for like many years, but I'd never heard this song. And I came across it and I was like, oh, this just goes perfectly with this theme about the two messiahs, the lovers. So it says, better pray for your sins because the gay messiah is coming. And I just think that's hilarious because a lot of times people try to act like being gay is a sin. So I love how it's like the tables are turned in the sense of the two messiahs actually being lovers and being gay. It's like the funniest like joke God could play on fucking like humanity for these like ignorant ass like people who have like tortured gay people for fucking centuries. Like God's getting the last laugh. So I find this line to be so funny. Better pray for your sins because the gay messiah is coming. It's a good song. Just check it out. All right. And so should I read? So I'll read a little bit of Soul Contract and then we'll do a tarot and then we're good. And then I'll do like, I'm going to just do this one's going to probably go to 3 to 4 episodes. So yeah, I'll finish when I come back for this next episode. I won't go into the other books and decks yet. I'll finish. We'll read a little bit more of this. Your Soul Contract Decoded. We'll read a little bit more about shamanic dreaming, and then I'll do a reading from the Esoteric Buddhism of Japan deck. So right now, I'm just going to read a smidge of your Soul Contract, and then we'll do a B tarot reading and call it a night. So let me just read like the foreword of this, okay? Actually, let me read to you the contents too, so you get a gist of what this book discusses. So, acknowledgments, forward, preface. My soul contract reading, inspired to share and teach the spiritual map of my life. Introduction. Would someone just tell me what is going on with my life? The spiritual map of your life. How you created your life the way it is. How to start creating a more fulfilling life. How to use this book. Your soul contract creates your reality in each moment. Chapter 1. How you create your life. Sound is creative. An experiment in consciousness. The dimensions we exist in. How you actually create your reality. The law of opposites. Your karma is your greatest gift. Your ego is attached to suffering. Why are you reading this book? So funny. The soul contract decoding process. I want my babes to read this book too. Chapter 2, decoding your birth certificate name, the spiritual map of your life. Ancient Hebrew emerges from the movement and sound of God. The layered interpretation approach, the tree of life. See, this is very Kabbalah. The mother letters of creation, the double letters, the simple letters, number categories. Chapter 3, methodology for creating and generating numbers. Generating a chart, the Star of David. Writing out the birth name phonetically. Checking for combination letters. Allocating the Hebrew numbers to the letters. Assigning the Hebrew numbers on the Star of David. Minimum number of phonetic sounds required. Calculating the 6 aspects of the Star of David. Calculating the soul destiny, calculating the 3 aspects for a short name with less than 10 phonetic Hebrew sounds. This book is fascinating to me. I honestly cannot wait to fucking read this. Somebody said that too when I was buying the books for the bookstore, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm getting this for my podcast. I was just wondering when do you think it will deliver by, or if it'll. I was actually talking about the gay tantra book. I was like, oh, do you think it'll be delivered, because it was going to go directly to my house? And it was like they have to print the book because it's a print by order type book. And he was like, no, it shouldn't be there by Sunday. It'll probably be next week. And he's like, but that's good, because then it'll give you time. You wouldn't be able to finish the book before then otherwise, probably. And I was thinking, like, who says I have to finish the book to like curate it on my fucking thing? So that's the thing, is like these books and these decks, I'm curating and I'm sharing them, but I don't feel like, this is the thing with people, like they try to put sort of kind of like expectations on you, like, oh, you have to read the entire book if you're gonna talk about it on a podcast. No, I don't. This is just, I'm just sharing what book I'm interested in and I'm starting to read right now, and I'll share a little bit about the book, and then I will continue to read the book on my own and integrate it into my life. I don't feel like I have to do every card in the fucking deck of a reading or read the entire book to share it on here and inspire someone else to like want to go purchase that book or deck. You know what I mean? And my integration process is me reading it on my own. And so I may pop back on another episode and say, oh, you know what, this new thing I learned from that book, remember I did a few episodes back. So don't ever feel like you have to like do things the way other people fucking say. Or don't overly pressure yourself to like take on too many like sort of like things in like in a small amount of time. Like really just like release resistance to divine timing in all areas. There's a perfect rhythm when you slow down and you get in tune with source like that. Like thank God my soulmate is like somebody who's like good for my nervous system like that, because he sure the fuck is. And I, because I've been through so much trauma and I've learned how to do those things too, but I have triggers where sometimes I'm triggered into like an old state of like not being regulated in my nervous system. And so even though I've studied nervous system regulation and taken therapy and studied Abraham Hicks, who teaches you how to like about breath work and like meditation and making sure your vibration is in alignment and that your emotions are, so it's like it's an energetic balance of like being peaceful and surrendering resistance is the trick, which is there's different modalities, like you can incorporate breath work to help you with that or whatever. And but yeah, like I always prayed that I would have like a partner that is good for my nervous system and understood like the challenges I face from my traumas. Somebody who's calm, who's not like a reactor, and he's all those things. He doesn't just blurt out things or just react. He really thinks and takes his time before he like decides what he's gonna say, and I love that about him. He brings me more into balance in that area. And also, I don't need to convince anyone of anything, even like with my therapist a little bit, like the small amounts that I've talked about, so many, like, it's like sometimes she'll, like, I said that to her. I was like, you make me feel like I'm having to like convince you of something. And I was like, and a lot of stuff between me and him is like private. And it's like, I'm not out here trying to convince anyone of my fucking relationship. It's between me and him. It's sacred. When I share, it's only from a place of like sharing inspiration in the sense of like love or soulmate, but to share certain personal things is very sacred. About between me and him, I will always keep a huge amount of any specific details between me and him will be private and always sacred, and I have boundaries up. But can I share like inspirations of what a amazing beautiful guy and what he inspires me? Yes, I will, but certain details are private, and I'm protective over him, and I have boundaries, and I'm not going to share everything with the fucking world, but some things that if I feel like it's relevant in a spiritual, like innocent sort of way, I will. And I told him, I'll always like respect our like private sort of conversations, or certain things that are sacred are only going to be between me and him, and I never want to make him feel like uncomfortable. And he understands that, and I've said that to him, and he's been fine ever since I've like said that to him. I think he trusts me more in that sense, because I'm never going to let some sort of outside source come in between our sanctuary, whether that's our home or even our consciousness. It's like me and him are a team, and me and him are the partners, and nobody's going to infiltrate. And I think that sort of decision has brought us closer and will be the thing that sustains our like relationship, is him putting me first and me putting him first, and us putting our relationship first, and above all, like other influences or opinions or anything. So brief interpretation of a name. So this was the thing too. He was saying to look into your, like he was literally saying this, look into your name and the different names in your name and look up the origin of what does that part of the name mean and blah, 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 and use numerology and like, he was using all these examples of what he wanted me to look into, like studying about myself to get to know myself better. And so it was interesting too, because this had everything in it and then some. And not only did it have numerology, soul contract, which I've learned about soul contracts for years, but never knew in depth about soul contracts. So this is just blowing the lid off. Like, what? Like, how do you, like, I'm so fascinated about to learn about soul contracts because they refer to them all the time in Kabbalah, but not, they don't take a deep dive on soul contracts like this book does. But right here, see, they break down like your name and what your name means. Like even it said they're up there too about your birth name, like writing out the birth name phonetically. Brief interpretation of a short name with less than 10 phonetic sounds. Case study, Bart Allen, symbols associated with each of the Hebrew letters, channeled soul contract symbols. I think my babe's probably good at channeling too. Channeling, I've studied I remember I watched this documentary on Gaia about channeling. I've studied a lot of channeling. That's why I was into Abraham Hicks. That's why I'm into Tori Amos. I'm into channelers. I do channel. I channel in a way. I channel in a way that is not overtake. I'm not allowing a spirit to completely overtake me and channel through me and like come into my vessel. I'm not channeling like that. Some people can do that. I probably could do it too, but I won't allow that because to me it's almost a little too much. But I do know I'm connected to spirit guides that will channel information to me and I'll translate it, but it's not where I feel overpowered. Now, I've seen people that really surrender their whole body and then suddenly are allowing like a soul to enter their vessel and then that's talking out of them. Now, that's to me that it's they did that. One of the girls did that on the Teal Swan documentary, The Deep End. I think even my soulmate might be probably better at channeling like that than I am. I'm not saying I couldn't do that. One time I did feel like a spirit tried to jump in my body when I was in Chicago and I was like on my friend's couch and I felt like a fucking spirit tried to like jump into me. And I remember just the feeling of it trying to overpower my body, which was really trippy. But I find that whole subject fascinating and interesting too. So it says, excuse me, I need to heat up my tea. I need to get one of those electric water pitchers so I can just plug it in right here, and refresh my tea when I'm doing this. So I don't have to get up. Okay. Channeled soul contract symbols. Chapter 4, understanding the numbers, generic top layer interpretations, the aspect of your soul contract, an open system of interpretation, letting go of the judgment of your karma. Ooh, interesting. Focusing on the essence of each number, top level interpretations 1 through 22. Chapter 5, double letters, the gateways, the directions. Chapter 6, simple letters, the organs. Chapter 7, double numbers 1 through 1 to 9 through 9. Aspect, specific meaning, deeper layers of meaning, a specific range of frequencies to experience. Chapter 8, combination numbers 10 to 1 to 2 to 4. Aspect, specific meaning, a wider range of frequencies to experience. Chapter 9, the word, transmissions from God. Chapter 10, recommendations, how to make your life happen. Recommendations 1 to 1 to 22 to 4. Living in the right place, the essence of the numbers. Jesus. Chapter 11, Decoding the Interpretations of Your Soul Contract. Interpretation methodology. Writing out your soul contract. Ooh, cool. Case studies. Case study chart summary for finding your numbers. Case study 3, Stephanie Margaret Megan Taylor. How funny. Case study 4, Maxine Charlotte Ethel Sampson. Case study 5, Jerry Mitchell Taylor. There's like 3 different names with Taylor in it. Case study 6, Mark Anthony Rubin. Case study 7, Naomi Gemma Kellier. Case study 8, John William Taylor. Case study 9, John Alnard Ford. Now you know how life works: family, personal, parenting, and business relationships. Chapter 12, the next steps: creating a more fulfilling life for yourself. Embracing your life to consciously heal yourself. You are important in the global scheme of things. Manifesting your divine purpose. Creating heaven on earth in your life. How you are changing our earthly reality. In conclusion. Appendix A, non-written English and non-English phonetics, more advanced applications, soul contract readings and consultations, workshops and practitioner training. Cool. Tools for awakening, web portals for readers, references index. Fuck yeah. This book is the shit. I cannot believe I fucking came across this. No, I can believe. You better believe it. All right. So we're going to do a B tarot reading and then call it a night. We are at 2 hours and 55 minutes. See, I didn't even unbox these yet. They're still sealed. So it opens on the side. I like when they open like that. See, look what it says. It says, did the bees understand the mysteries of the druids, or did the bees perhaps give them access to those mysteries? So here's the really big, thick book. Christopher Hughes, art by Nadia Turner. Into the Hive. Look, the box is so cute. Little bees in there. This is the back. Follow the keeper's journey into the magical world of bees. There's a quote up to ancient British adage. Ask the wild bee what the old druids knew. Follow the keeper's journey into the magical world of bees. Through 78 cards, buzzing with divinatory energy, best-selling author Christopher Hughes explores the symbiotic relationship between bees and humankind. Discover the life cycle of bees, the archetypes of their world, and their mythological and cultural attributes. With Nadia Turner's exquisite art, a premium linen card finish, and Christopher's full color guidebook, this Rider-Waite Smith style kit beautifully marries bee traditions with tarot wisdom for a hard-working tool in sync with the rhythms of nature. See, I got this little cute candle. Honey and clementine. Forgot to light it. Get with the program, David. You should have done this from the start. I also ordered this Honey Glow soap. It's good for like your ass crack, your asshole, your armpits. like it makes your like any areas like that, like it makes them like pink and fresh if there's any sort of like discoloration from like sweating or whatever. It just like brings back your natural pink skin tone with like turmeric and koji acid. So it's lemon, turmeric, koji acid, honey glow. This is the #1 brightening bar on TikTok. Over 500,000 sold. I ordered this too. Since I'm waxing my ass, I want my like ass to just. It already looks great. But it's like it's just for like lightening completely. Like my ass crack and asshole is already light, but it's like it lightens it even more, and it just keeps you like it's good for any of those sweaty areas, those cracks and crevices. Oh my god, I'm funny. All right, so we'll just do a single card reading, and I'll do like a or should I do like a layout? Or should I just pull one card? I'm just going to pull one card and then I'll do like a layout. So I'll probably do the follow-up episode either tomorrow or the following day. I might let my voice rest tomorrow. 3 hours of chatting gets a little bit like so maybe the day after tomorrow, and then I'll finish the second part of this. And so the one I had intended to be a part 2 will be in 2 parts as well, because there's 2 books and 2 decks with that one too. So I'll just extend it. So you'll have like 3 more episodes coming after this. And after that, I might be finished with season 1 and to focus on some other projects and things, whatever God has planned for me. All right, so Spirit, I'm just going to pull one card. Whatever you'd like to share to me, my soulmate, or the collective, for a collective reading. All right, I got it. The keeper. Oh yeah, he's a keeper, all right. You're a keeper, babe. The Beekeeper. Fucking cool is that the card I got. Tori Amos has an album called The Beekeeper, which is one of my favorite albums of all time. Has my favorite song of hers on there called Jamaica Inn. Obsessed with that album. I love the energy of this deck. Okay, I'm going to put the deck back. I'm going to read the Beekeeper card. There was no box. Usually they give you like a small box to put it in, but I guess you just keep it in here. This is a really nice box set though, so let's just keep it all together. Okay. Set it right here. I don't want the cards to come flopping out. And I like the texture of the card. It's like really like glossy and like I like the texture of it. Okay, Into the Hive. Wow, even the pages are so good. Look at this book. They're like all like glossy ass pages. Look at all the photos. Look how good the photos are. This is gorgeous. Like really good. Like these are all like glossy, like really nice. This book is gorgeous. Oh my god, this was such a good decision. Look how cool that picture is. Into the Hive. Yeah, and I was gonna do stuff about the Bible portion this week as well. It's just so I'll do that. So that'll give me another thing to like add. So it'll be the deck, the two books, and the Bible portion. Okay, I'll do that the day after tomorrow ish. If I feel up to it tomorrow night, I think I think I'll wait a day just to let my voice rest. So I don't lose my voice. Okay. So this is where's the keeper? Here it is. Okay, keeper. Oh, 0. I could have looked it up that way. Okay. Buzzwords: new beginning, opportunities, taking risks. Buzzword. Oh, it's funny. Get it? B buzzword. Bzz, bzz. Consider the first tentative steps in any endeavor when you see this card. The keeper evokes the feeling of stepping onto a new path, scintillating with a vibrancy that sings of the soul's progression through the experience of life. Or in the keeper's case, the first tantalizing steps into caring and tending the bees. The keeper represents newness and the initial burst of excitement and trepidation as one embarks on a new venture. From the keeper's smoker, wisps of wood smoke are given form in the air, which is the very element that drives this card forward. The bees gather about the keeper, encouraging him onward toward the hive. Here's the picture, bigger. The keeper's point of origin is the brilliance in the top right corner of the card. This is not simply the light of the sun, but the burst of energy from the divine that initiates the keeper's quest through the major arcana. Beyond this card, there is profound mystery and the paradisial origins of the soul, a mystery that is emulated by the bees themselves. To be in relationship with the bees is to touch another reality and a social structure that defies logic and rationality, for they represent the ability to communicate as individuals and as a whole. That's really interesting too. That's like, like thinking of people as like a collective is probably that's like a good like metaphor of the way bees are with a hive, I guess. And in doing so, they touch a mystery that may elude us. To know the bees, one must employ trust, a trust in the hive and its queen. And in doing so, we take a leap of faith over the precipice of expectation and into mystery. The great mystery is also like a Native American belief. Upright, you are embarking on a new venture, And your journey takes you from the, oh, they're doing upright and reversed. So I guess it was upright. I think they're all upright, right? Until I mix them up. You are embarking on a new venture, and your journey takes you from the nascent seeds of possibility to the first stirrings of reality. It is imperative that at this point you do not overthink the situation. I was getting that message very recently about not overthinking things. Allow your naivety and innocence to guide you forward. You must employ trust. Yep. That's what I've been telling myself, even when external things have been trying to like influence me. I'm not allowing it. Reversed, you are overthinking. So if it was reversed, it's telling you are overthinking the situation, which it wasn't, and I'm not. So I'm not overthinking things in general in life at this point in my life in a way that's toxic to my I was getting into a mode like that for a little bit. And I've pulled myself out of it, and my soulmate has helped pull me out of it. And now I'm in this like flow energy that I'm loving. I was talking about this last week where I've been getting better at releasing resistance, and even this curveball that has been a tower moment with my disability income, and and all that shit with the administration and Social Security and fucking Medicare. It's just been like I think normally I could have really let that fucking affect me even worse, and that it shows the progression in my sort of like trusting the creator, that I'm able to like in this tower moment not freak the fuck out and stay calm and stay trusting of God and where God's going to guide me and where my sustenance and abundance going to come from, and in who I am, and knowing in who I am. And I've known for a very long time who I am, but stepping into that knowing and like carrying it energetically, and like and when I'm challenged with something like this, really embodying the trust, embodying self-control over my nervous system, trust in the creator, my faith, lots of different things. So feels good. All right. Beautiful. We'll end on that note. Namaste. I love you guys. I love you, baby. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I will see you in a day or two. All right. Have a good night. Happy blood moon lunar eclipse. Bye.